Hello Year 3s, it's Varjak Paw time. We're going on to the next couple of chapters actually today, but before we do that, let's just catch up where we left off. And if you recall, he was feeling very sorry for himself because it was raining, he was getting wet, and he just wanted to get some shelter. And he ended up finding a shed or a small building, and he managed to walk through, but it smelt and it was damp and horrible. Okay, so shall we find out what happens next then? So we're now on chapter 9. It was dark as midnight in the hut. It felt close and damp, but at least inside was drier than outside. Varjak was safe at last. He relaxed, and then a low growl ripped the air. The door slammed shut behind him. "Don't move a muscle," said a gravelly voice. "You're surrounded." Varjak's claws slid out, ready to fight. "Put those claws away," commanded the voice. Varjak opened his eyes wide. It was another cat. She had spiky black and white fur and mustard-coloured eyes. She looked about the same age as him. Younger than Jasmine or Julius, but harder, as if she'd seen too much of the world already. "I'm not looking for a fight," she said, "but if you don't put their claws away, I'll rip you to shreds." Something in her gravelly voice left Varjak in no doubt that she meant it. "I'm not looking for a fight either," he said, and put away his claws. The rain thudded on the roof of the hut like a nervous heartbeat. "Okay," she said. "This is my hut, my shelter. Everyone knows that. What are you doing here?" Varjak glanced at the door. "It's raining. And this was the only shelter I could find." "Can't you see it's taken?" she growled. "Isn't it big enough for both of us?" There's only room for one." That certainly wasn't true, but Varjak didn't think she'd appreciate him saying it. He stared silently at the soggy timber floor. A puddle had already formed around him. He couldn't face going out again. Besides, she was the only cat he'd met since leaving home. She was nothing like a Mesopotamian blue, but she wasn't like the gentleman's cats either. There was nothing strange or scary about her, though you wouldn't want her for an enemy. Varjak tried to smile through the dark at her. She glared back. "What's your name?" she said gruffly. "I haven't seen you round here before." "It's Varjak Paw." "Varjak Paw?" she said. "Varjak Paw? What kind of name is that?" What was wrong with his name? "What's yours?" "None of your business. Whose gang are you with? Who's your boss? Are you running from the Vanishings?" Varjak hesitated. What did all these questions mean? He didn't know, but he had to say something. He blurted out the first thing that came to mind, something he didn't even believe himself. "I'm a purebred Mesopotamian blue." "A what?" "A Mesopotamian blue. We're very rare. Special cats." "Special?" she spluttered. "I don't care how purebred you are, or where you think you're from. The only thing that counts is what you do." A blast of thunder rattled the hut. Varjak frowned. He'd never heard anyone talk like that before. "What kind of cat are you?" he asked. "I'm asking the questions, special cat," she said. She sounded disgusted. "Now tell me what you really do. Are you one of Ginger's gangs, or are you with Sally Bones?" "Keep talking, that was the best thing." "I told you, I'm a Mesopotamian blue. We live on the hill." She sighed and tapped her claws on the floor. "Everyone knows there's no food up there. Even the gangs don't bother with it. Come on, tell the truth. You must be with a gang, or a little cat like you would be starving by now." Her words sent a shiver down Varjak's spine. How could she not know about the Countess's house? This world outside and the world he came from seemed completely cut off from each other. "Listen," she said, "if you're so high and mighty, how come you're out in the park in a storm?" "I'm outside because I need to talk to a dog," he said. She stared at him as if she didn't understand. "Dogs are huge, noisy monsters," he explained. "I know what a dog is," she snapped. Then maybe she could help. "Do you know how to talk to them?" She scowled like she couldn't believe what she was hearing. "I know it sounds strange," said Varjak, "but I've got to do it to save my family. They're in a lot of danger." The black and white cat laughed out loud. "He thinks he can talk to a dog!" Even her laugh sounded like the crunch of gravel. Varjak scratched an itch under his collar. It felt uncomfortable. "What's that you're scratching?" she said. "My collar." "Collar?" A strange expression crossed her face, and then she seemed to relax. "Isn't that what pets wear?" Varjak peered at her own neck. She wore no collar. "Yes, now it makes sense," she said. "You're just a pet cat who's got lost in the storm, aren't you? You're not in a gang. You don't know about the vanishings. You don't know anything about this city at all, do you?" Varjak almost denied it. Then he remembered his dream. Open mind, the first skill. Only when you admit that you know nothing can you truly know anything. "All I know is that I need your help," he said quietly. "I need a place to stay until the storm's over, and then I've got to find a dog." She looked into his eyes for a long time. The rain beat down, relentless. "All right, pet cat," she said at last. "You can stay, just till the rain stops, and then you go, understand?" Varjak smiled. "Thanks. Just don't talk to me about dogs, that's all," she muttered. They sat together in the darkness. Varjak was bursting with questions. Were there many other cats outside? What were these gangs and vanishings she kept talking about? And how exactly did you talk to a dog? There were so many things to understand, but the black and white cat was curled up into a spiky ball. Any more words would breach the invisible barrier she'd made between them. The rain went on. Varjak shivered. He was cold and tired. His eyelids drooped. He tried to force them open, but they kept closing by themselves. It would be madness to fall asleep in a strange place with a strange cat, but he couldn't help it. He slept in his corner of the hut, still shivering as the rainwater and slime dripped from his muddy fur. Chapter 10. Varjak dreamed. He dreamed he was back in Mesopotamia. Zigzag trees swayed in the warm night breeze. The sky was bright with stars. The air smelled like cinnamon and tasted of ripe dates. Jalal walked beside him. "Can you teach me how to talk to dogs, Jalal?" "What kind of trees are these?" said the old cat abruptly. "Trees? All around us there are trees. Perhaps you have noticed. The zigzag trees." Varjak nodded. "So, what kind of trees are they, Varjak Paw?" Varjak bit his tongue. Jalal wasn't talking about dogs, and Varjak had no idea about the trees. He didn't want to disappoint his ancestor, but what else could he do? "I don't know," he admitted. Jalal stopped walking and placed his paws squarely on the earth. "Awareness," he said. "The second skill. If you are to survive in the world, you must be aware of everything in it. Whether you need to find food, fight an enemy, or even talk to a dog. Before you do anything, you must know what you are dealing with. Assume nothing. Be sure of the facts. Open your senses. Spread them wide like a net. Observe the world, what it looks like, what it sounds like, even what it tastes like. The air tastes of dates, suggested Varjak. It does indeed. That is because these trees are date palms. See the zigzag patterns on the trunk? That is how to recognize a date palm tree. Jalal pointed out the other trees on the riverbank. He gave names to the trees and taught Varjak how to recognize them by the patterns on their trunks and the scents of their fruits. Varjak stored the knowledge carefully in his mind as they stood under the palms, practicing awareness for a timeless time. Again, Jalal said. He was a stern teacher. Again. And then at last, enough. I never knew there was so much in the world, said Varjak. That is because until now you have used only a small part of your potential. The rest is locked within you, but you are capable of anything, my son, anything at all. Each sense is like a fine web that goes out into the world. Your whiskers can detect the slightest changes in the air, the smallest movements. Your nose can scent fear. Once developed, your awareness can even feel danger and tell you when you are being watched. Jalal's ears suddenly pricked up. He dropped into a low crouch. Listen! Can you hear it? Varjak listened to the peaceful Mesopotamian night. He could hear nothing unusual. Pay attention, said Jalal. Near the top of the range there is a scratching, squeaking, chirping noise. It comes from the edge of the water. Can you hear it now? Varjak closed his eyes and concentrated. There it was, just as Jalal said. I hear it, but what is it? Breakfast, said Jalal. And that's what he could hear. Okay, that's it for today. Enjoy it, and I'll see you next time.